I'll get to that.
Okay. Maybe several things. One, I will probably remind you all and the rest of the board members.
Well, in that event, why don't we do that?
Okay.
Okay.
Here's it. So we got it.
All right. What's your preference?
Why don't we start with finance and then we'll proceed.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very happy to be here. I'd like to start today talking about the big picture. As we've been discussing budget and trends, and to put into perspective the unprecedented financial conditions in the market, and then think about the implications for Oregon and the county business and Trimet. So as most of you probably know, last week the Federal Reserve gave a pretty bleak assessment of the U.S. economy. National unemployment at 7.6%, which is the highest in 16 years, and predictions for that getting worse. There's indications that we're currently in the weakest economy since 1982, when the national unemployment rate was 9.7%. And today, consumer confidence came out at an all-time low. And there's a similar story in Oregon. Job losses every quarter last year, and a trend of that getting worse over the course of the year, that 70% of the jobs lost in Oregon were in the fourth quarter, and that's the same trend we're seeing nationally. So the Oregon unemployment rate went from 6.5% in August last year to 9% now. And we're seeing a similar story in the Tri-County area. Multnomah and Clackamas were in the high 5% unemployment rate in August, and they're both at 8.1% now, so a little better than the state, but it's still a bad number. And Washington County, a little better, going from about 5% to 7.2% at the end of the year. So when you convert all this to real numbers, in the greater Portland area, which includes Columbia and Clark County as well, there are 97,000 reported people, unemployed people looking for work. And in the three-county area, that's 66,000 people. And these numbers paint a picture of real difficulty for families, for individuals and families facing financial hardship, and obviously for the state and local government. So with that background, I want to move on to the implications for Trimet. We also expect continued downward pressure on payroll tax revenues. As fewer people work, payrolls decline. And there are also some things you don't see in the unemployment number and the payroll number, which is things like furloughs. As you read about this morning, the state is looking for large furloughs. Those don't show up in unemployment numbers, but they do show up in lower payrolls and thus lower payroll taxes. There's also the implication for us that we receive our receipts of payroll taxes on a lagged basis. So now in February, we're receiving dollars based on payrolls in October, November, December of 2008. And then self-employment taxes are paid in April. So when we actually see real numbers, it's lagged at least a quarter or longer. So we believe that the impact of the local unemployment difficulties are not fully reflected in the receipts that we're seeing now. So what are we doing based on this? We have reduced our estimates of fiscal year 10 payroll taxes. In the FY10 budget that we're preparing now, we are reducing our estimate of costs of revenues, also lowering our expenses, and we're monitoring revenues on an ongoing basis and making contingency plans should things be even worse. So if I could turn now to the operating statement, which you have for January, you will see that payroll tax revenues are below the budgeted revenues for the month and for the year to date. For the first 7 months of this fiscal year, payroll tax revenues are about $7 million less than budget, about 5.5% to 6% lower. And that's because this is based on the fiscal year '09 budget, which was prepared last year at a time when we assumed modest payroll tax growth. That's the difference in budget. If you look at passenger revenues year-to-date, they're higher than budgeted by about 5%, and that reflects our continued growth in ridership. Despite declining economic conditions, our ridership is up over 4% from January in 2008. And then pulling it all together, year-to-date, both revenues and expenses are lower than budget. And the lower expenses resulting from lower operating costs, lower costs of accessible transportation, and cost-cutting measures that Brett will talk about. If you look at the balance sheet, you'll see the use of cash during the year as planned to fund investment in the capital projects, West, I-205, the Green Line, the Downtown Mall. And that move from cash shows up in a higher number for investments, property assets, which is on the balance sheet. And in conclusion, I'll end on a positive note, a happy note, that I'm pleased to say that Trimet's investment portfolio remains invested as it has been in high-quality, short-term, liquid investments, and the majority of our investments are in Treasury securities or the State of Oregon short-term funds, so AAA-rated short-term securities. Happy to take any questions.
Okay.
Question, just one question for you, either Fred. You mentioned that the passenger revenues year-to-date were up about 5%, and you attributed most of it to ridership. Just out of curiosity, when we built the budget, did we have the fare increase in there as well? Okay, so that's why you.
Yeah, I know we made some purchases here. Federal National Mortgage Association on 17. And just a question, why would we still be going after mortgage investments? Or, it doesn't seem like that'd be a good area to be in.
Those, I believe those are either the federal home loan or...
One of them is. The first one's, that's on page 3 in the portfolio.
Yeah. Those are what are known as government-sponsored agencies. So it is, and they're AAA rated, and they are purchasing, it's the government agency that collects and pools mortgages, and they have had a federal infusion of support and are AAA rated. So it's not a purchase by us of mortgages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the federal agency that supports the mortgage market.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Before Beth leaves, if we were in the legislature, freshmen, one of the first times they were carrying a bill or something, George knows this well, they go through a process of, unbeknownst to that individual, that they all, after the bill's been carried, they all vote against it. And it's just devastating to them because they don't know what they've lost and so on. It's their initiation of the first timer. This is Beth's first time, and you gave her no trouble whatsoever.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, wait a minute.
Thank you.
We are very pleased that Beth is on board and hitting the ground running, as you can tell from that presentation.